Hello, this is solving multi-step equations. The objective of this video is to practice learning how to solve multi-step equations with a variable on both sides. We're going to start with example 1 over here on the left. I wrote down a few things that you need to remember. These should already be in your notes, but I have them over here just to make sure that you kind of remember as we go along some of the key things we have to do in order to solve an equation. If you look over there, the first thing we're supposed to do is we're supposed to build a wall. So I always build a wall right where the equal sign is, and this is just going to help me keep a balance of what side of the equation is what. Because if you look at number 2, it says what you do to one side, you have to do to the other as well. When I solve a multi-step equation, I always like to move the smallest variable first. That is not something you have to do, but it ends up saving me trouble with positives and negatives toward the end. So no matter what step you take, if you do your math right, you'll end up with the correct answer. However, I'm going to move the 3x just because that's what I like to do. I like to move the smallest variable first. And if you look at point number 3 over here, it says do the opposite to move a term. So since this is a positive 3x, I'm going to take away 3x, use a negative 3x and cancel it out. Once again, point 2, what you do to one side, you do to the other. Since I took 3x away from this side, I'm going to take 3x away from the other side. Now, I can't take 3x away from 11. Those aren't like terms, but I can take 3x away from 5x. So I'm going to place the 3x below the 5x. Remember, part of your success here is staying organized. So I'm actually going to draw a line here just to help keep me organized. And I'm actually going to cross this out. These positive 3x and a negative 3x cancel each other out. I like to cross things out. It makes me feel like I'm accomplishing something. Once that's crossed out, I'm going to bring down whatever's left. So on this side of the wall, there's still a negative 7. I'm going to put my equal sign here on the wall. 5x, and I take away 3x, that means there's 2x's left. So I'm going to put my 2x, and then this plus 11 can come down too. That's still in my equation. Alright, so now if you notice, I started with 4 terms, and I'm down to 3. So now I'm going to move my non-x terms, because if I take this 2x and move it over here, that's not going to accomplish anything. I'm not going to eliminate anything by just moving this term over here. So moving the 2x doesn't really make sense. And I'm not going to move the negative 7 over to this side of the wall, because if I do that, there'd be nothing left over here, and you want a good balance. So the only option we have is to move this positive 11. Okay, so don't forget, we're going to do the opposite. And we're going to subtract 11 on both sides. So I'm subtracting 11 on both sides. Okay, and once again, crossing it out, I'm accomplishing something. And now I'm left with a negative 18 on this side and a positive 2x on this side. So now we're down to 2 terms. We started with 4, moved to 3, now we're down to 2 terms, okay? Now we really can't move any more terms. I can't move the 18 over here. I can't move the 2x over here. So now you got to split up the 2 and the x, right? Because if you look at 4, my goal is to get x by itself on one side of the wall. Well, x is not by itself. There's still a 2 in front of it. All right, x is being multiplied by 2. If you remember, 2x means 2 times x. You can actually put a little time sign in between the 2 and the x. So to get rid of it, once again, you got to do the opposite. The opposite of times or multiplying is dividing by 2. All right, so I'll divide by 2 here. I'm going to divide by 2 here. All right, and when I do that, get to cross something out. Look at that. I'll be left with an x over here, and I'll be left with a negative 9 over here. And now we have x by itself on one side of the wall, and we have what it equals. If you're not positive about your answer, I would like you to take it and plug it back into the original equation and check and see if you get the same thing on both sides. I am perfectly fine if you just use your calculator to do that. just type 3 times negative 9 minus 7, and over here type 5 times negative 9 plus 11 and see if you get the same thing. Now that we've done that, I'd like you to try example 2. All right, so here's example 2, and what I'm going to do, I want you to pause the video and try it on your own first before you watch me do it. All right, so go ahead and pause the video and try it now. All right, hopefully you've paused the video. You've tried example 2. I'm going to go over it. All right, so once again, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to build my wall. All right, this is just going to help us keep our balance. And I'm going to follow some of the key rules we have over here. Once again, it doesn't matter what you move first, but in my experience, I've been doing this for quite a long time, I've had the best luck always moving the smallest variable first. So if you look, the negative 3x and a positive 4x. Negative 3x is smaller. I'm going to move it first. So I'm going to do the opposite, 0.3 right here. I'm going to do the opposite by adding 3x to both sides. So plus 3x. What you do to one side, you have to do to the other. All right? And when I do that, I get to cross this off. All right, we're accomplishing something. I'm left with a 15 over here. Here's my equal sign. 3x plus 4x is 7x. And then I also have this plus 20 still floating around over here. All right, now we're going to do it all over again. I'm looking and I can see, all right, 7x. It makes no sense for me to move it over here because there's nothing to combine it with. There's no other x values on this side, so that doesn't make sense. And it really doesn't make sense to move 15 over to this side because then there's nothing left on this side of the wall. You could, if you subtracted 15x, you could do, or I'm sorry, just 15. If you subtracted 15, you could be left with a 0 over here, but essentially what you're doing, you're just adding an extra step to the problem. We don't want you to do that. So the only option here is to subtract the 20 on both sides. All right, so we're going to subtract 20, and I get to cross this off. Negative 20, positive 20 cancel each other out. 15 minus 20 is negative 5. And over here, I'm still got a 7x. Now, did we accomplish our goal? Remember, our goal is to get x by itself on one side of the wall. And I'm going to say no, we have not accomplished our goal because we still have a 7 next to the x. So we got to get rid of that 7 by doing the opposite. So since I'm multiplying by 7, I have to divide by 7. So I divided by 7 on this side, divided by 7 on this side. I get to cross off this 7. And when you do this, first of all, x is by itself now. Please don't type this in your calculator and write the decimal. Just leave it as a fraction. That's going to be very helpful in this class because a lot of times this is going to represent a slope, which we need for linear equations. So just leave it as a fraction. Negative 5 over 7 equals x. Hopefully that's what you got. Check your answer. And if that is what you got, go ahead and try assignment number 1.